Every city on this planet has a population count. People who wake up, go to work, and fall asleep, expecting to do it all again tomorrow. These 10 cities used to have that. Now they have 0. What happened to each of them is the kind of story governments prefer to bury because the truth is stranger than most people would believe. Number 10. Centralia, Pennsylvania, USA. Centralia still has a zip code. It has a current population of 5 people. In 1962, someone lit a fire in a landfill built inside an old coal mine at the edge of town. The fire found the coal seams running beneath the entire town and never stopped. It has been burning underground for over 60 years, and geologists say it has enough fuel to keep going for at least 250 more. The ground above it subsides, cracks open, and vents carbon monoxide without warning. The main highway through town buckled so badly from the underground heat, it had to be permanently closed. The government bought out nearly every resident and demolished their homes. The 5 who refused have lifetime rights to stay. Then the land goes back to the state. Today, the street grid is still visible in the grass. The street signs still stand, and the church is still there. Centralia has 5 residents and a fire that will still be burning long after every one of them is gone. Number 9. Hashima Island, Japan. This 16-acre island off the coast of Nagasaki was once the most densely populated place on Earth. At its peak in 1959, over 5,000 people lived on a piece of land smaller than most city parks. Every single one of them was there for one reason: an undersea coal mine operated by the Mitsubishi Corporation. Since the island was too small to commute from, Mitsubishi built an entire city on top of the mine. Apartment towers, a school, a hospital, a cinema, bathhouses, a rooftop garden. The island's silhouette from the water looked exactly like a warship, earning it the nickname Gunkanjima, meaning Battleship Island. What the tourism brochures leave out is that during World War II, Korean and Chinese workers were brought here under forced labor conditions. In 1974, the coal ran out. Mitsubishi gave everyone 2 weeks and left. The island sat sealed for 30 years. It now appears on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Though Japan's acknowledgement of the forced labor history remains, diplomatically speaking, incomplete. The Bond film Skyfall used Hashima as its villain's island because the production team felt no set could match what was already there. Subscribe, it gets much darker ahead. Number 8. Krakow, Italy. Krakow sat on a hilltop in southern Italy for over 2,000 years. It survived the fall of Rome, the Black Death, earthquakes, famine, and war. Then in the 1960s, the local government decided to modernize the water and sewage system. The excavation destabilized the hillside beneath the oldest buildings. Landslides followed. More landslides followed in 1972 and 1980. The last 1,800 residents were relocated to a valley settlement, and the original town was sealed. What is left is a slow-motion collapse that has been going for 40 years and still is not finished. Film crews use it constantly. The Passion of the Christ was shot there. Quantum of Solace used its streets. The original families gather every year in the valley below and look up at the city that is still theirs and still completely out of reach. 2,000 years of survival ended by a plumbing decision. Number 7. Varosha, Cyprus. In the early 1970s, Varosha was the hottest resort on the Mediterranean. Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, Brigitte Bardot, Rachel Welch. 45% of all hotel beds on Cyprus packed along 5 kilometers of coastline. Then, in July 1974, Turkey invaded the north of the island and residents fled with whatever they could carry. The Turkish military fenced the entire district off with barbed wire and declared it a restricted military zone. Tables were left set for meals. Cars sat in showrooms with the keys still in them. A UN resolution said Varosha could only ever be resettled by its original inhabitants. That resolution has been sitting unimplemented for 50 years. The buildings inside the fence have been collapsing ever since. In 2020, a small section was partially reopened to tourists, a movie condemned by the EU, the UN, and Cyprus itself as an illegal political stunt. The original residents are old now or dead. Their grandchildren have never seen the place their family left behind. Subscribe now. You won't regret it. Number 6. Kolmanskop, Namibia. In 1908, a railway worker found a diamond in the sand while clearing train tracks in the Namib Desert. Within months, the German colonial administration had claimed the entire region, restricted access, and started building a city in one of the most hostile environments on Earth. Kolmanskop ended up with a hospital containing the first X-ray machine in the Southern Hemisphere, a theater, a ballroom, a bowling alley, an ice factory, a casino, and a tram line. The children played with loose diamonds the way children elsewhere played with pebbles. It lasted 40 years. After World War I, the easy surface deposits ran out and richer fields were discovered further south. The last resident left in 1956. The Namib moved in the same week. Sand poured through every open window and door, filling rooms floor to ceiling over the following years. Today you walk through ornate German colonial rooms with patterned wallpaper and tiled floors, buried to the windowsill in desert sand. The diamond company that controls the region still charges an entry fee for tours. They are still making money from Kolmanskop. The original settlers would probably not be surprised. Number 5. Humberstone, Chile. The Atacama Desert in northern Chile is the driest place on Earth. Some monitoring stations have never recorded a single drop of rainfall in their entire operating history. People still built a full city here, a hotel, a theater, a church, a plaza for weekend dances, and a swimming pool filled with seawater pumped from the Pacific Ocean 60 kilometers away. They were there for saltpeter, a mineral scraped from the desert crust that was the essential ingredient in both fertilizer and explosives throughout the late 1800s and early 1900s. The world ran on it. Humberstone ran from 1872 until 1960, when synthetic nitrates finally made the whole operation obsolete overnight. The workers left, and the desert immediately took back what was always its. In Namib, the pool cracked. The theater seats split. The furniture warped. UNESCO named it a World Heritage Site in 2005 and simultaneously listed it as a site in danger, because the Atacama does not negotiate and no budget is big enough to win against it. Number 4. Agdam, Azerbaijan. There is an aerial photograph of Agdam that looks like the aftermath of years of sustained bombing. Block after block stripped down to bare foundations. Streets still visible, but every building along them either demolished or reduced to skeleton. One mosque standing completely intact in the middle of all of it, surrounded by a city that no longer exists. Agdam is called the Hiroshima of the Caucasus. During the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, Armenian forces captured it in July 1993. All 40,000 residents fled. What came next was not battle damage. It was a deliberate decision. Armenian forces dismantled Agdam building by building, removing materials for use elsewhere, and preventing any future military reuse. The mosque was left standing. Everything else was taken apart. When Azerbaijani forces retook the region in 2020, they returned to a city erased so thoroughly it looked ancient. Reconstruction is now underway. But the photographs from before show something that takes a moment to process. 40,000 people simply removed from a place they had lived in for generations, accomplished through nothing more than organized effort and time. Number 3. Kantubek, Uzbekistan. Nobody calls it Kantubek. The people who built it called it Aralsk 7. The Soviets named the island it sits on Renaissance Island, which is one of the most darkly ironic names in history, because what they did there was the opposite of a renaissance. From the 1930s to 1992, this was the most active biological weapons testing site on Earth. Anthrax, plague, smallpox, tularemia, typhus, tested in open air on live animals. The town of Kantubek housed the 1,500 scientists and soldiers running those experiments. It had schools, a cinema, roads, apartments. Normal on the surface. A few kilometers away, researchers were loading pathogens into artillery shells and detonating them in outdoor fields. When the Soviet Union collapsed, everyone left within a year without cleaning anything up. American scientists who visited in the late 1990s found anthrax spores still viable in the soil decades later. Looters stripped the buildings for scrap, all apparently deciding the biological risk was worth it. But here is the detail that genuinely unsettles scientists today. The Aral Sea has shrunk so dramatically from Soviet irrigation projects that the island is no longer an island. It is now connected to the mainland. Whatever is still alive in that soil has a direct land route to the rest of the world. Number 2. Oradour-sur-Glane, France. On June 10, 1944, a company of Waffen SS soldiers entered the small French village of Oradour-sur-Glane and killed 642 people. The men were taken to barns and shot. The women and children were locked inside the church, which was then set on fire. The village was burned building by building. By evening, the soldiers were gone. The reason this specific village was chosen has never been conclusively established. The leading theory is that the SS unit received bad intelligence and had the wrong location. 642 people died because of a mistake on a map. After the war, Charles de Gaulle ordered the ruins to remain exactly as they were, not restored, not demolished, left. The burned-out cars from 1944 are still in the streets. Sewing machines sit in the collapsed houses. Clocks stopped at the moment the village fell and have not been moved since. A new village was built right next to the ruins, and people live there today, waking up every morning, looking directly at what is on the other side of the road. The ruins are not a museum. They are the village itself, preserved on the worst afternoon it ever had. Number 1. Pripyat, Ukraine. 49,000 people can tell you exactly what time they left Pripyat, because they were given a time and put on a bus. They were told to pack for 3 days. Most left their most valued things behind because 3 days didn't seem worth the effort. Nobody told them they weren't coming back. Pripyat was built in 1970 to house workers of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, 4 kilometers away. By 1986, it had 50,000 residents, wide boulevards, a sports complex, 16 kindergartens, and a brand new Ferris wheel set to open on May Day. On April 26th, Reactor 4 exploded during a safety test. The blast released more radiation than Hiroshima. Soviet authorities said nothing publicly for over 36 hours. On April 27th, an announcement came over the city's speakers. 1,317 buses showed up. The evacuation was done in 3 hours. Nobody has lived there since. The toys are still in the kindergartens. The piano is still open in the music school. The Ferris wheel that never opened is still standing, rust orange, in a fairground that was built for a May Day that never came. Wolves and lynx now roam the exclusion zone. The forest has been taking the city back for 40 years. Visitors who go say nothing they had seen or read prepared them for what it actually feels like. A city of 50,000 people left exactly mid-sentence. Subscribe, drop your answer in comments. 10 cities, 10 different endings. A fire that will burn for centuries under a town with 5 people left. The most densely populated island in history, emptied in 2 weeks. A medieval city killed by its own plumbing. A luxury resort sealed behind military wire for 50 years. A diamond boomtown swallowed whole by desert sand. A saltpeter city that fed the world's wars, now reclaimed by the driest place on earth. A city of 40,000 dismantled brick by brick until it looked ancient. A bioweapons island where the anthrax is still in the ground, and the mainland is now just a walk away. A French village frozen on the worst afternoon of its existence. And Pripyat, a city built to represent the Soviet future, now the most complete record of what a civilization looks like when it leaves in 3 hours and never returns. Every single one of these places was ordinary once. That is the part that never leaves you.